Ghani couldn't stop her hands from shaking. Her wedding dress was too tight, her lips too dry. She was only 19. Across from her stood Faru, a 67-year-old man with gold teeth and dead eyes. The priest cleared his throat. "This union, blessed by God and our ancestors." He opened the Bible to begin, but as the heavy book split open, a loaded gun slid out, and that's when all hell broke loose. What no one knew was, Ghani had never been as helpless as they thought. Ghani was only 19, but her life felt like a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. Her father, a poor fisherman, worked hard every day, but it was never enough. Her stepmother, cold and greedy, saw Ghani as nothing more than a way to make money. Without telling anyone, she arranged for Ghani to marry Faru, a very rich and powerful chief who was old enough to be her grandfather. Faru was feared in the village, not because he was kind, but because he had money and influence. Ghani begged and cried, telling everyone she didn't want to marry him. She begged her stepmother to stop, but her words fell on deaf ears. The wedding was set for just 1 week away. It was like she was being sold like a thing, not a person. Everyone else acted like it was normal, like Ghani didn't matter. But there was one person who still cared, someone who watched her pain in silence, hoping to find a way to help her before it was too late. Ghani's world was closing in fast, and she felt more alone than ever. But deep inside, a small spark of hope remained, even if no one else could see it yet. Just before Ghani was forced to leave her small village and go live with Faru, something unexpected happened. Her grandmother, who was very old and very sick, called her close. The old woman's hands were weak, but her eyes were full of something strong, like she knew a secret that nobody else did. She took Ghani's hand gently and pressed something small and soft into her palm. It was hidden very carefully, sewn underneath the reed basket Ghani always carried with her. Ghani didn't realize it at first. She was too scared and confused about what was happening. But when she looked closely, she found a folded piece of paper hidden inside the basket's lining. On it, written in shaky but clear handwriting, were words that sounded like a riddle. "The day they try to bury you, rise through what they never saw coming." Ghani read the message over and over, but she didn't understand what it really meant. How could she rise when everything around her seemed to be falling apart? How could she fight back when everyone had already given up on her? The note was like a secret promise from her grandmother, something powerful to hold on to when things got darkest. At that moment, Ghani felt a strange mix of fear and hope. She didn't know how or when, but somehow, this message was meant to guide her. It was like her grandmother was telling her to stay strong, even if no one else was on her side. Ghani folded the note carefully and tucked it back into the basket, feeling a little less alone than before. That secret message would follow her through every scary step ahead, even if she didn't fully understand it yet. It was a small spark, hidden in a needle basket, waiting for the right moment to light up her path. When Ghani arrived at Faru's big mansion, she thought her life might change for the better. She imagined a new home filled with warmth and kindness, but what she found was nothing like that. The house looked shiny and grand from outside, with golden gates and tall walls that seemed to touch the sky. But as soon as she stepped inside, a cold feeling crept over her. There were no smiles waiting for her, only strict rules and cold eyes. Faru's servants told her she was not allowed to talk to anyone unless Faru said so. She couldn't call her family or even send a message. If she wanted to go outside, she had to ask for permission and never go alone. The big windows she saw from outside were covered with thick metal bars. It looked more like a prison than a home. The golden walls didn't protect her, they trapped her. Ghani began to understand something terrible. She was not a happy bride starting a new life. She was a prisoner dressed in beautiful clothes. Each day felt longer than the last, and every room she entered reminded her that she was stuck. The silence in the house was loud, filled with the sound of her own fear and loneliness. Sometimes she would stand by the barred windows, looking outside, wishing she could run far away. But the bars reminded her that Faru had control over her. The mansion was like a golden cage, shiny on the outside, but cold and dark inside. Ghani's heart ached as she realized that no matter how rich or powerful Faru was, his money couldn't buy freedom or kindness. She was alone, scared, and trapped in a place where she was supposed to be married and loved. But instead, she was locked away, with no voice and no choice. The House of Gold was a prison without chains, and Gani knew deep inside that she had to find a way out, even if it seemed impossible. This was not the life she wanted, but it was the one she had to fight against. Every day in that mansion made her stronger in a way she didn't understand yet. The golden cage was tight, but Gani's spirit inside it was quietly growing, waiting for the moment to break free. In the big mansion where Gani was trapped, there was one place she found comfort: the kitchen. It was noisy and busy, full of smells of food and the sounds of pots and pans. Here worked Jabir, the cook. Jabir was different from everyone else. He couldn't hear anything and he couldn't speak either. But even without words, Jabir saw everything that was happening in the house. He watched how Faru treated Gani and how scared she was. One day, when no one else was around, Jabir found a way to talk to Gani. He used his hands to make signs, slow and clear so she could understand. He also scribbled notes on scraps of paper he kept hidden in his pocket. When Gani looked at the notes, her heart stopped. Jabir told her something no one else had dared to say out loud. There were 3 wives before her, 3 young women just like Gani, who had come to live in this house and disappeared one by one. Nobody knew exactly what happened to them. Jabir's note said one of them tried to run away. She ran as fast as she could, but Faru caught her. Her scream was so loud and full of terror that people in the village said it still echoed through the walls of the mansion, even after she was gone. Jabir's warning was clear. Gani was not the first, and if she wasn't careful, she might not be the last. But Jabir was also trying to tell her something else. She was not alone. Even though he couldn't speak, Jabir was there, watching, helping in his own way. He wanted Gani to know there was hope, even in the darkest places. With Jabir's silent support, Gani felt a little braver. She began to understand that she had to be smart and careful. This house was full of secrets, and Jabir was her first real friend who showed her the truth. The kitchen, once just a place to cook, became Gani's secret refuge, where she could breathe and plan. She knew the danger was real, but she also knew she had a quiet ally in Jabir, a friend in the shadows, who believed she could fight back. And that belief, small as it was, made all the difference. The night before the wedding, Gani lay awake in the dark room, her heart pounding like a drum. The mansion was quiet, but her mind was full of noise. She thought about everything that had happened: the cold bars on the windows, the lonely days, Jabir's warning, and most of all, her grandmother's strange note. The day they tried to bury you, rise through what they never saw coming. Those words kept echoing in her mind. What did it mean? How could she rise when she felt trapped like a bird in a cage? But slowly, a plan began to form in her head. She knew she couldn't run. Faru's house was like a fortress, and she was just one young girl against a powerful man. She needed something clever, something no one expected. Gani remembered the priest who would marry her the next day. He carried a big, heavy Bible, old and worn, but important to everyone there. What if she could use that to her advantage? Quietly, she found a small, hidden pocket in the priest's robe, where she slipped a tiny pistol she had secretly kept hidden. It was small, but powerful. She carefully sewed it inside the pages of his Bible so that it wouldn't fall out or be seen. Along with the gun, Gani tucked in a small note with secret words only the priest would understand. It was a message asking for help, telling him everything without saying it out loud. She didn't know if the priest would help her, but she had to try. If this wedding was going to happen, she wanted it to be on her terms. She wanted the moment everyone thought would trap her forever to be the moment she took control. As the night grew darker, Gani felt a strange mix of fear and hope. She was scared of what might happen, but she was no longer just a scared girl. She was a girl with a plan, a secret weapon, and a hidden message. The dress she would wear tomorrow wasn't just a wedding dress. It was a symbol of her strength. The Bible wasn't just a holy book. It was the key to her freedom. And when the morning came, Gani was ready to rise, ready to face the biggest moment of her life. Because sometimes, the smallest things, a tiny pistol, a folded note, can change everything. The day of the wedding arrived faster than Gani expected. The church was packed with people, but not the kind who came to celebrate love. Most of the men were there to see the rich chief Faru get his new young wife. They laughed loudly, whispering among themselves about how lucky Gani must be to marry such a wealthy man. The women looked at her with jealous eyes, pretending to smile but hiding their true feelings. They said she was lucky, but Ghani knew better. She wasn't lucky, she was scared. More scared than anyone there could imagine. Faru sat at the front, his face stretched into a cruel grin. His gold teeth gleamed as he held out his wrinkled old hand to Ghani, like she was just a prize to be claimed. Ghani's hands trembled, but she kept her head high. She knew she had a secret, something no one else in the room was ready for. The priest began the ceremony, speaking words that sounded strange and hollow in Ghani's ears. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. The priest opened the old Bible to read the vows and blessing. As the heavy book split open, a sharp clatter echoed through the quiet church. A small pistol slipped out from between the pages and hit the floor. Everyone froze. The pistol was loaded, cold, and ready to fire. Shock and confusion spread across the faces in the crowd. Some men's laughter died instantly, replaced by fear. The women gasped and looked around nervously. Faru's grin vanished, replaced by a hard, angry glare. His eyes searched for the source of the danger. The priest looked stunned, but then his eyes met Ghani's. She stood tall, no longer the frightened girl from the poor fishing village. She was a young woman with courage, with a plan, and with the power to change her story. The wedding that was supposed to trap her forever had turned into a moment no one would forget. The crowd, once mocking and cruel, now realized they were part of something bigger, a secret being uncovered, a fight beginning. In that tense silence, Ghani's heart pounded not with fear, but with hope, because she knew this was just the start. The day everyone had come to watch a rich man take a young bride ended with the sound of a small pistol on the church floor, and the beginning of Ghani's fight for freedom. When the pistol fell to the floor, everyone held their breath. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. But then something surprising happened. Ghani did not pull the trigger. She didn't fire the gun. Instead, before anyone could react, there was a loud bang that was not from the pistol. The heavy church doors suddenly swung open with a crash, making everyone jump. In rushed a group of police officers, moving quickly and with purpose. Their faces were serious, and their eyes scanned the crowd like hunters searching for prey. The laughter and whispers stopped immediately. Faru's face changed from anger to fear, his eyes wide as he saw the police coming straight toward him. No one expected this moment. The rich chief, who thought he was untouchable, was about to face the law. What no one in the church knew was that the priest had secretly helped Ghani. The note she had slipped into his pocket the night before was handed by him to his brother, a federal officer who had been quietly investigating Faru for years. Faru's power came from lies, money, and fear. He had been involved in trafficking girls like Ghani, forcing them into marriages and hiding the truth from everyone. But this time, his secrets were about to be exposed. The police started asking questions, and Faru couldn't hide anymore. Ghani stood tall, her heart still racing, but filled with relief. She had planned this moment carefully, trusting that the priest and his brother would come through for her. She didn't need to use the gun. The real power was in the truth and the law that had finally arrived. The crowd watched in shock as Faru was led away in handcuffs. The man who thought he controlled everything was now just another criminal facing justice. Ghani's courage had changed everything that day. The wedding, which was supposed to trap her forever, had turned into a moment of freedom and hope, not just for her, but for all the girls who had suffered in silence. The church was no longer a place of fear, but a place where the truth came out and a new beginning started. And Ghani, the young girl once sold like property, had become a symbol of courage that no one could ignore. After the police took Faru away, the priest pulled Ghani aside. His face was serious but full of relief. He told her he had suspected Faru for a long time, but never had enough proof. Faru was smart and powerful, and many people were too scared to stand against him. The priest said that Ghani's bravery had given them a chance to finally find the truth hidden deep in the shadows. Together with the police, they went to the chapel floor. The priest carefully moved the old wooden panels, revealing a secret space beneath. It was dark and dusty, but what they found inside was shocking. Files, photos, and identification cards of many young girls who had disappeared over the years. Each file told a story of pain and fear. These were the girls Faru had trapped, just like he tried to do with Ghani. The priest explained that Faru was not just an old husband wanting a young wife. He was a cruel man hiding behind respect and wealth. using his power to hurt innocent girls. He was a monster in disguise. The files showed names, ages, places where the girls came from, and even dates they were taken. Some photos were small and faded, but the sadness in the eyes of the girls was clear. It was heartbreaking to see how many lives had been broken. Ghani felt a mix of anger and sadness, but also a growing strength inside her. She knew she had to keep fighting, not just for herself, but for all those girls who had suffered in silence. The priest promised to help her bring justice to them all. The police took the files as evidence and said this would be the beginning of a big investigation. The chapel, once a place of fear and secrets, now held the key to ending Farou's evil deeds. Ghani's courage had opened a door that no one thought could be opened. The hidden files beneath the chapel floor revealed the truth everyone needed to see. Farou's mask had finally fallen. He was exposed as the cruel man he really was, and the long nightmare for many girls could now come to an end. This moment was more than just about Ghani. It was the start of a new hope for all the lost and silenced voices. As soon as the story of Ghani's rescue spread, it caught fire all over the country and soon beyond. People couldn't believe how a young girl, sold like an object, had found the courage to fight back and expose a powerful man. News channels, radio stations, and social media shared her story again and again. Ghani was no longer just a victim. She became a symbol of hope and strength for many who had suffered in silence. Survivors from nearby villages and faraway towns started coming forward, sharing their own stories of pain, fear, and escape. For the first time, many women felt brave enough to speak out, knowing they were not alone. Ghani's name was on everyone's lips. People called her the bride who refused to stay silent. Her story inspired others to stand up against injustice and forced marriages. Organizations and activists reached out to help her build support for victims. Soon, filmmakers took interest and made a documentary about Ghani's journey. The film showed not only her terrifying experience but also her incredible courage and determination. It told the stories of many girls like her, shining a light on a hidden problem that many tried to ignore. The documentary was watched by millions, both in Africa and across the world. Schools, churches, and community groups used it to teach about human rights and the power of speaking up. Ghani's voice became a powerful weapon against cruelty and silence. She began to travel to speak at events, sharing her message with hope and passion. People admired her for turning her pain into a force for good. Her story reminded everyone that even when things seem hopeless, one person's bravery can start a big change. Ghani was no longer just a girl sold to a rich man. She had become a leader, a warrior for justice, and a beacon of light for all who needed to be heard. Her fight had only just begun, but already it was changing lives, and the world was watching. Years passed, and Ghani's life changed in ways no one could have imagined. From being a scared young girl forced into a terrible marriage, she grew into a strong, confident woman. She used her experience to help others who were trapped like she once was. Ghani started a foundation to support victims of forced marriages. Her group gave shelter, education, and hope to girls and women who had nowhere else to turn. She traveled to villages and cities, teaching people about the dangers of selling daughters and the power of standing up for themselves. Ghani's foundation became a symbol of strength and change. When people asked her why she never fired the gun on that wedding day, she would smile quietly and say, "Because truth makes louder noise than any bullet." That one sentence showed how brave and wise she had become. She knew that violence was not the answer, but speaking the truth, exposing lies, and fighting with courage was the strongest weapon she had. As for Farou, the man who thought he could buy a girl and control her life, his fate was dark and final. After the police raid and the evidence found beneath the chapel, he was arrested and charged with many crimes. He spent the rest of his days behind bars, never seeing sunlight again. His power and freedom were gone forever. Ghani's story didn't just end with her own rescue. It became a movement that changed her community and inspired many others to break free from silence and fear. From a purchased bride to a powerful woman leading the fight for justice, Ghani proved that no one can be truly broken if they have hope, courage, and the truth on their side. If you believe everyone deserves freedom and justice, share Ghani's story now. Let's raise our voices together and end forced marriages forever. Don't stay silent. Be the change someone's been waiting for. Share this video and spread hope.